All right. Response here was we have to do something, maybe write our congressman to either clean house or completely get rid of the FDA since it's a complete waste of taxpayer money. So that's kind of a dangerous line of thinking, and let me explain why. So the FDA in itself is not the issue. It's the congressman that you're wanting to write to that's the problem. So for them to clean house, we would have to completely get rid of everybody in Congress, wipe that out, and redraw all the rules, which we need Congress people to do. The issue is that the Congress people get lobbied, and then they, in effect, limit the ability of the FDA to do things. Now, we still need the FDA. They provide a lot of information and data on things that we otherwise would not see. So at least they're still able to report things. Part of the result of seeing that there's lead in the food is because the FDA reports on it. But the FDA doesn't set limits, right? The FDA's job would be, in a portion, to collect it. And I know some people would say, like, no, that's what the FDA is supposed to do. And maybe at one point they could do that, but they can't anymore, right? So it's the same as like the governing bodies determine whether we can have lead in paint, right? It wasn't always that way. There was a point in time where lead was allowed in paint and a lot of other products, and there was still reporting on how dangerous it was, I'll bet years after, but we still need those departments to report on data. That way, when change can be made, we have the groundwork for it. We're not relying on no data. Because if we have no data and we're trying to make a change, people will drag their feet saying, well, we just don't have enough information on this. We just don't know. Same with asbestos. Asbestos had similar issues where, they knew they had an idea. I'm not going to say they knew it was harmful. They had an idea it might be harmful, but research was partially blocked. Same with a lot of other products. Teflon, for example. I forget who makes Teflon, but the company behind it is really big into making other chemicals that are bad for you. But they dragged their feet on getting testing done for Teflon and stuff being harmful, and then that information came out. And now we're starting to see more options for consumers to get away from Teflon-based products, because Teflon is bad. People don't realize that, but Teflon is bad. So no, we need these, just like we need the Department of Education. And I see similar people going, well, we should just get rid of the Department of Education. They're useless. The Department of Education is actually useful, even if they're only collecting data. Betsy DeVoe, when she was in, was the problem. She was the head of Department of Education. She was appointed there by Trump. She was the issue. Trump was the issue as well, but her stifling what the Department of Education could do was the bigger issue. So it's not enough to have just the departments. We also need department leads, presidents, if you will, of the Department of Education, stuff like that, or presidents of these departments that can actually do things and not be neutered by congressmen. And as far as writing letters to your congressman, they're not going to listen to you. They listen to people that pay for $10,000 plate dinners, to donors. That just ain't you and I. And that's not the way it should be. But unfortunately, because they want to be reelected, they need that money. So they're going to do what it takes to get that money. And that means they're going to do what the donors tell them to. Robin Williams was in a movie called Man of the Year. I highly recommend you watch it if you haven't seen it, because it explains kind of the issues why politicians don't listen to the people. I mean, that whole movie is a great look at politics in this country and a hypothetical about election rigging, which is interesting that seemed so far-fetched at the time, but maybe wouldn't be now. But there's just a lot that people don't see, and I'm hoping that you understand that we do need those departments. I would rather have some FDA that can monitor stuff and at least control drug releases, even though that is something they're not completely in control of either, than having nothing at all. I'd rather there be somebody that can leak that information about things going bad or something than nothing at all. And that's kind of the problem, is the system has people thinking, we just need to get rid of these. We'll save the money in tax dollars. You won't save any taxpayer money, though. They'll reappropriate those funds to themselves or someplace else. So getting rid of the FDA will make you more blind to what's going on and remove your tax dollars from something that may have helped you to something that absolutely will not. Like, I can guarantee you one of the things that probably happened is, as part of the money that would go from eliminating the FDA would go to defense spending. So it'll go to something else that's not needed at this point, because that's where most money goes that gets cut, is to the defense budget, because they have more discretion. Our politicians have more discretion over the defense budget under the guise of national security, which gives them this broad arm to do what they want. So I hope that provided some insight. That's just kind of my view on things and what I've seen, and that those aren't opinions just of my own. These are things that have been talked about numerous times everywhere. Where people talk about where we do need these departments, but people get in the mindset if we should just get rid of them. So hopefully that helps.